Hey everybody, it's Alec here. We're back at it with another episode of the show. And today I am joined by
Ana Melikian.
Anna. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I know you're a very knowledgeable, interesting person, and I'm excited to have a fantastic conversation with you.
I'm looking forward to it too.
Cool. So the first question I like to ask is, how do you spend your time on planet Earth?
um, Hopefully, a lot about learning. So, my big thing, I think, one of my values is always try to learn something new.
Mm-hmm.
And life gives us many opportunities of learning. And I try to, the learnings that I have in life create a positive impact out there
Yeah.
and thrive also to enjoy the journey.
Absolutely. So let's go a little bit more into detail. So, mindset zone. Where did that come about? What was the inspiration? Because I know it's a podcast, I know it's a book. How did you get into this world?
So, my background is in psychology. Since I'm
Mm.
originally from Portugal, if people are wondering about my accent, I'm originally from Portugal. And my background was all in psychology. In Europe, the system is a little bit different than here in the United States. When we go to college, we have to declare our major from the beginning. And I decide between technology and psychology when I was 18. And I say, okay, I love technology, but I love humans. And I love to solve problems. In technology, we can solve problems, but humans are a more interesting puzzle to solve.
Yeah.
So I decided to study psychology. And this was oh my gosh, in the 90s.
Yeah.
And from there, when I moved here to the United States 20 years ago, I kept learning more about personal development, coaching. I transitioned from clinical psychology to coaching. And during
Yeah.
that process, mindset was a term that was starting to be used, and I was using it in my own work. And I start to realize when I start my podcast in 2014, that was already a ton of conversation around mindset, but not many places at the time to have a mindset workout, to really give us time to pick a topic and construct the topic and then put it back together and see it from a different perspective. And that
Hmm.
was the initial intention of my mindset zone. It was creating that zone, that space that people can go every week to expand what's possible for them, for the ones around, and for the world.
Amazing. So, what is that mindset zone? Can you give me like an example of what that would look like?
Is really, and that was something also then a couple of years ago, I decided to write the book and even go deeper about how we define mindset in psychology, because I had my own definition of mindset.
Hmm.
Um, my shorthand definition of mindset is the habits of our mind
Mm.
that frame the way that we see the world. And that's to do with the way that we grow up, the things that we learn along the way, and the work that we do in self development. So it's habits of mind. And when we look to all the body of research in psychology, we can find that it's really three different buckets for what people call mindsets. There is maybe the more popular one is from the work of Carol Dweck that wrote a book with the title Mindset. That is an amazing book. And
Mm.
it's a lot mindset about our core beliefs, that are to do with our identity of how we see ourselves, that
Hmm.
that identity and that core beliefs filter the way that we interact with the world. And the
Hmm.
classical example is the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset. And we can have growth mindsets in some aspects of of our life and fixed mindsets in other aspects of our life. Um, and the important thing is to understand that the fixed mindset is not bad by itself, but limit us. For instance, I'm not very good in sketching. And I have a fixed mindset around sketching, my artistic ability.
Me too.
But uh, it's good to expand a little. Yes, I can learn. I can be able to use tools that allow me to do something. I can do stick figures very well when I do a class and I use a whiteboard, but I had to develop that skill. So I'm transition from a fixed mindset around it, that my level of artistic abilities were in the 7th grade, to a little bit more, and I'm expanding, growing, because I know that is something that I can do with the right tools. But I'm not investing enough time to become an artist or something like that. And then there is also our talent and the things that we enjoy doing. But by understanding that we can have a saying about things that we consider that were fixed, that they are not as fixed as we thought that they were, give us a ton of options and possibilities. So when we are not good in something that we like to be a little bit good at, we can say, I'm not good at this yet.
I like that word.
And then
Yes.
we have to put the work to increase our proficiency on it. That doesn't mean that we are going to be the best of the best in the world, because for being in that 1%, yes, it's our work, our mindset, and some things also have to do with talent, that and opportunities, and how to leverage opportunities. So reality is complex, but without any doubt, our core beliefs can help us expand possibilities or contract our possibilities. And I'm all about expanding them. So that is like a big bucket for mindsets. But there
Yeah.
is another big bucket that people in psychology use the word mindset with a different emphasis. In cognitive research, the term is more used for the set of cognitive tools that you are using, so your mindset, to master a specific task.
Mm.
So it's not so much about the core beliefs that you have, but what is the set of cognitive tools that we activate when we are facing a specific task. And there is a ton of research there that for me was incredible, because it helped me to understand why people procrastinate. Because usually when in the business world that I work a lot, I see people keep, for instance, with the target market, a solopreneur, a coach, a consultant, a speaker, they keep struggling in defining who is the people that they want to focus in. And one of the things through this lens of this research that I realize is that when we are still deciding our focus, we cannot be in the implementation stage because we don't have clarity.
Mm.
So the mindsets that are activate when we are exploring options are different than the mindsets that we activate when we are implementing something that we have decided.
So that's why people procrastinate, because they don't
No,
have clarity and intention around what they want to do.
yeah, and if they are trying to activate mindsets, cognitives, like being using the Pomodoro method, the 25 minutes to focus on something and doing something, but if they don't have clarity if that something is going to advance in the direction that they want, they keep postponing and
Mhm.
finding excuses not to do it.
Got it.
Once they have clarity, they can use productivity tips and tactics in a more effective way.
Yeah, because people are always just like, oh, just be disciplined, have consistency, blah, blah, blah. But what I've said recently is it's hard to be consistent if you're not intentional about what you're doing and why. It's
Yeah.
nearly impossible. So,
And now that is more important than ever, with all the big advances in AI, artificial intelligence, and all the technologies around it. We
mhm.
have these incredible tools that allow us to go really fast, So more important than ever is to know where we are wanting to go.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we are going to end up in a place very far away that we don't want to be.
Oh, that's so interesting. It's so funny you say that because over the last several months, I was working on all these different e-commerce products. And I was like, I had this idea and I was just like, I just want to make it. And through ChatGPT, I was able to make these products, only be like, okay, I spent all this time building this, but is this really what I wanted to build? Not exactly. So yeah, it's so interesting because it can take us really far in the right direction. Or if we don't know if we want to do something, it allows us to better do that anyway, and we could just spend time going in the wrong direction. That's so interesting. I never looked at it that way, but yeah.
We have to, one of my things, so I speaking a lot I do keynotes and trainings in person and virtually. And
Yeah.
my topic that I'm focusing is how to navigate the human side of the AI disruption. So
Hmm.
that is my topic that I'm really going deep now. And we need more than ever with this acceleration of change, time to pause and to reflect of the direction that we want to go.
For sure. So what is your definition of mindset?
Is that is the habits of our mind
Okay.
and we have different habits, like we have different habits, behavioral habits, we have different habits of our mind. And a
Hmm.
lot of the self-development work is first become aware of those habits.
Uh,
Because if we are not aware, they are still there working, but
they
an
run subconscious.
unconscious, subconscious level,
Yeah.
and we have less power to leverage them, to shift them, because something that serves us, a habit that serves us until a certain moment in our life, doesn't mean that is what is going to serve us for another time in our life. And we
Right.
have to have that self-awareness to understand and why sometimes it's important also to reflect a little about why we developed that habit and then ask the hard question: do we want to keep it, or do we want to put the effort necessary to change it?
Yeah. No, I love that. So what was a period of your life where you were going through a difficult time and you knew that you needed to reprogram your mind because what you were doing wasn't working? What was that situation and how did you manage to restructure the way that your mind thought to get you more of the results that you wanted?
And sometimes I always say that life gives everybody lemons and
Hmm.
sometimes give us a big watermelon. And sometimes it has to be that when life throws us some challenges that we realize that we have to change our ways. In my
Yeah.
personal case, I was raised, so it's by nature and nurture, like hard work. You have to work hard. And I was very, very proud of being a hard worker and an high achiever in many, many ways. I compare myself. Do you remember the Duracell bunny from the advertisement, that pink
Yeah.
bunny with the little drum that kept drumming, drumming, drumming away, outlasting everybody else? That was my badge of honor. I was
Mm.
like that Duracell bunny. Everybody was tired, and I will keep proudly going. And it served me for a long time in professionally, to go professionally, to achieve my PhD and all the other, to start my business. Working hard was a great thing for me and that I was very proud of. What I had to learn is that it's not the only way of doing things.
Hmm.
I got in 2016 a diagnosis of cancer. That was my
Oh,
big watermelon moment
wow.
that made me, I didn't, how do you say, I went through the cancer treatment and it took my energy out. So I didn't have energy to be going and going like before. So I really had to stop and understand the frustration that I was having because I could not work as hard as before. And if there
Hmm.
was a different way of doing things, the famous work smarter, not harder, I
Yeah.
really life through me. Okay, is that really possible? I didn't believe, and this is where our core beliefs come into play. I
Yeah.
didn't really believe. I had heard that before, work smarter, not harder, but truly I didn't believe that was possible. But then when work so hard was not possible anymore, that limitation, that constraint led me to reevaluate that work
Hmm.
smarter way. And oh, I see it now. And that was a big, I had to develop other habits, including habits on my mind to be able to leverage more. How can I create more impact without burning out in the process?
Yes. So somebody that I've been studying a lot is Dr. Joe Dispenza, who I'm sure you've heard of. And
Mhm.
he talks about the different ways of creating. He says you can I don't know how if I can coin this specifically as he speaks about it, but he talks about creating from a place of like working really hard, like trying to sort of force matter versus being more intentional about our thoughts and our beliefs and better aligning those to where we want to go and better attracting it. Because some people work really hard to achieve a certain result while other people are able to achieve it easier based on the way that they think.
And often is we have this tendency of seeing things either or. Is
Hmm.
working hard, or being lazy. That honestly is what my worldview was. I was working very hard. I was very proud of myself. And the people that didn't work as hard as me, or if I was not pushing myself to the limit, I was being lazy.
Yeah.
And the reality is that things are not so either or, it's more both, even what you're
Do
saying.
both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because yeah, there are times in our lives that we have to push. If we are launching a product, even last year when I published my book, if you are promoting the book, you have to push. Or they say you have a time window to do certain things. You have to put the hours there. But you have to have the capacity to shift to a more flow state that if you want to be in the creative state, and again, the mindsets, what you are
Yeah.
activating for creating, innovating, you cannot be in the push. Because when we are implementing in that implementation mode, 1, 2, 3, go, we are very laser focused,
Yes.
and that is not the best mindset activation for innovation and creativity. So we have to be able to be flexible and have moments that are implementation moments, but also have moments if we want to create stuff, be innovative. We have to open the space and enter in the flow. And even in the execution, if we find ways that are more congruent with our energy and the way that we don't have to be pushing, and we can use the energy to be more in the flow of the high performance.
Yes. So when you were talking about, hey, you're in a period after the cancer diagnosis, you had to work smarter instead of working harder because you physically couldn't. What were those things that you implemented in your life? Like, what has been your tool and strategies in order to do that? Like, what's your story behind that?
Yeah, the thing is that when you have like, and it doesn't need to be a illness, can be sometimes life circumstances that pull our time and energy in a way
Yeah.
that we really don't have enough hours in the day. And so
Mhm.
many people, I think, in the day to day feels that there is not enough hours, and that we almost we have this false belief that if we stop, the world will crumble. If not the world, but at least our world will crumble. And the reality is that the world will keep spinning. So I was forced to stop and to ask the hard questions. What is really important? What is really priority? Where you're
Mm.
running so fast, where are you running to? Because many of us realize that we are running to nowhere or in a treadmill, not really advancing, but still running very hard. And when
Mhm.
we have this realization, then it's okay, going back to our values. what is really important for us, and how can we put our limited energy. In my case was, how can I focus my limited energy in the things that matter most.
Hmm. And what are your core values?
In terms of my work life, is absolutely learning,
Hmm.
creating a positive impact,
Hmm.
enjoying the process,
Yeah.
and walking my talk.
What about your personal life?
And family and friends. So it's still the learning. Learning is always their core. I think we always can learn from each other and become better, even in our, especially in our relationship with others. That is, that we have many habits, behavioral and mindset habits there that we can improve. But I really value, I'm very lucky. I'm married with my husband for more than 20 years. We have a daughter, we have a nice extended family, and spending
Right.
time with them and with friends for me is very important.
Yeah, you've clearly had a lot of success in several areas of your life. Do you use visualization techniques?
And it goes in webs and flows. There are times in my life that I use more of it than other times, but I absolutely, the power of imagine in our mind eye all the possibilities, or even something really has an effect. And we know that from research.
Yeah.
So, but we have to, in order to do that, we have to create these moments to pause. Because
Or
it's difficult, it's that thing. How can we really visualize and use our imagination in so many different ways, including to uh, think about or visualize, for instance, an ideal day, if
hmm.
we are always in the treadmill running.
Yeah, you can.
We have to create and we are in a society that everything is rush, rush, rush. And my big thing is we have to schedule, not just how they say we can go to a retreat, to a conference that that can be transformational, absolutely. But then in our day to day, we have to schedule these times for the
Yeah.
meditation, for the exercise, for walking in nature. Every person can be a little bit different, but we have to create scheduled moments for pausing, and
Yeah.
visualization can be one of the tools that we use in those
Yeah.
moments.
So what are you scheduling right now in your life, like time to yourself to work on yourself? And that might go into routines and
Yes.
habit.
I try to, for me, I like structure. There are people that don't like, but for me at this stage in my life, I love to have a structure. So I like to wake up in the morning relatively early, and I try different things. I even, there is a nice book and a concept that is called the 5 o'clock club, I think is the
The
name of
5
the
a.m.
book.
club
5
by
a.m.
Robert
club.
Sharma.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, I like
Yes,
that book. Yeah.
yes. And it's a great, and I did that for a while. And that was really important because there is something magic of that first. Now I don't do it because really to do the 5 a.m. I have to, I realized that I have to wake up at 4:40, and
Hmm.
I did it for a while that uh, but I still keep the principle of that first hour in the morning being an hour for doing some self-reflection,
Yeah.
some physical movement, and doesn't need to be, but just movement, and starting the day with intention.
Yes. So you
So
devote an hour to yourself every morning.
yeah, and now it's more integrating in the routine of getting up, of taking my coffee, of reading. It's not a structure of the 5 a.m. club, but it's
Yeah.
still there because that is the time before we check emails, before we start to in the demands of others. So,
Right.
and then even when I sit in front of the computer, I like to have my little ritual of going through. I have a checklist, and I have breathing exercise. I do some voice warm ups, and that I like as is like my setup ritual and looking for my goals that I have for the week or for the month, and that helps me to keep focus on what is important.
Great. Is there anything that you do that's particularly unique to you that you found really works well?
For me, I really have a checklist when I sit in front of the computer that I open the checklist and I go, okay, breathing exercise. I love a very short one that Dr. Henry Weil was the one that popularized this one. That is, you inhale for a count of four, hold for a count of seven, and exhale by the mouth for a count of eight. It's the
Mhm.
4-7-8. And there are videos from Dr. Weil on it. That, and you do just 4 cycles of it.
Yeah.
And it's really less than 2 minutes. You can do that, and it resets your nervous system in a very powerful way. So that
Okay.
is, I like to start, and I have 4-7-8. I do that. Sometimes I did see the video, other times I just do it. And it's like reset, it's like pressing the pause button. And
Okay.
then I have as a speaker, we have to take care of our voice. So I integrate my voice warm up in my morning routine. After I do the breathing, I do a little bit of voice warm up. And then I go and look to my things. So each one of us have to find things that are meaningful, but is putting the intention, I think, is the main thing.
Yes. So I want to shift the conversation a little bit. What are some things that you're that you're excited about in your life? Things that you're working on, things that you look forward to when you wake up, because I know you like to create. What are you building right now?
Now I'm in the process of writing another book. I
Okay.
think I had when I did my doctoral dissertation, it's a big book, but you don't expect too many people to read it, so you do it to get it's part of the process. So I
Yeah.
really, but when I decide to write Mindset Zone, I procrastinate a lot because I was wanting to summarize everything until I realized no, let's be specific in one message that you want to put out there, a summary of your ideas around mindset work,
Yeah.
and you always can do a second edition in the future. Now that I managed to accomplish that, I say, oh, I can do this. And I want the book that I'm in the process of writing is about how to ride the 100-foot AI wave,
Mm.
mainly in the business world. So the human side of it is not about prompts. There are many people doing excellent work about all that. For me, it's more about the mindset shifts that we have to do in order to leverage this technology to create a better tomorrow to everybody.
Okay. And what is an example of one of those mindset shifts that people might be missing?
I'm glad you asked. So, first of all, the framework, and that is the reason why I use, and in itself is a mindset shift. Why I use the image of the 100-foot wave, there is a couple of reasons. I'm originally from Portugal. In Portugal, we have this beautiful area near the coast that is called Nazaré, where we have 100-foot waves, and it's like the mecca for big wave surfing.
Wow.
So, and there are beautiful images from this, and I love the visual of it. And when I was looking, I realized this is a great metaphor for what is happening in the business world today. It's not about what is happening tomorrow, it's what is happening today. If we are in business, we are facing 100-foot AI wave. And
Mm.
what I realize is that you have people in business, in the business world, that are still trying to ignore what is going on and
Hmm.
denying the magnitude of the changes. So they are
Yeah.
almost putting their head in the sand, ignoring. And unfortunately, most of those business are going to be crushed by the AI wave.
Mm.
Then there is another extreme that I also see a lot, that are people trying to control everything. Every day I have the library of prompts, that I also have my library of prompts, but all of that they want to be updating the tools. But every day you open your email, you have 5 new tools that show up overnight.
Yeah.
And those people, you cannot control the energy of a 100-foot wave. So they are getting burnout by this. So, and there are many people in between these two extremes. And my big first mindset shift is saying there is another way. You don't have to ignore it. You don't have to control everything. You can ride a 100-foot wave with a very important caveat. Riding big waves is a team sport, not a one-person sport,
Mm. Okay.
because they have to have the jet skis that take the surfer to the right point in the ocean. That is, you have a couple of jet skis or a team of jet skis that take you to that point in the ocean. Then you have to have the spotters, that usually in Portugal there is a lighthouse where they have the spotters that are checking what are the right waves to be surfed. And then you have the emergency team in the short, in case that things are not going according to plan, that they enter into action. So surfing, riding the 100-foot AI wave, even if you are a one-person business, is a team sport. You cannot and you don't have to do it alone. You have to get collaborations and get connections with the right different people that allow you to know enough to be safe, to surf the wave, and to take advantage of all that energy and create something that will be better for the future. So that
Okay.
first is a mindset shift of perspective that is possible to ride this wave, and this is a team sport. So that will be one of the mindset shifts that I speak. And then I speak about other three that I can go through that I think are very important in order to leverage all the potential that we have with advancements of technology.
Okay. Great. Well, thanks for sharing all that. I have one last question for you,
Yes.
Anna. Let's say it's the end of your life. You know, you've done everything that you've wanted to do. However, there's nothing to show for it. There's no books, there's no
Mhm.
podcasts, there's no YouTube videos, nothing like
Yeah.
that. But you have a message that you can broadcast to all the billions of people on the world, and you can leave them with three truths, three things that you know to be true about the world around you, in business and in life, personal,
Mhm.
whatever it might be. Three things. What do you share with the world?
Importance of creating moments to increase our self-awareness by pausing. So don't
Yeah.
be running all the time. Re- Respect the moments for self-awareness and the reflection. Create connection with people, family, friends, that are what really counts, in my opinion. And it's possible to make an impact in this world for a better world for tomorrow without burning ourselves in the process.
I love it. Simple but powerful.
Mhm.
And of course, very mindful.
Yes.
So where can the people find you, Anna?
So the easiest way is always my website. That is my name, Ana, A-N-A, Melikian, Melikian.com. I'm active in social media. Where they can find me as a person will be on LinkedIn. I have presence in other social media, but the place where I'm active is LinkedIn. And of course, my podcast, by following my podcast, The Mindset Zone.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much for being on the show, Anna.
My pleasure.